Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Net podcast number 1330. Sorry, my dog suddenly just took off and decided to zoom a little bit. I got my happy shirt on. This is my cruise day shirt. So I had one of these a long time ago, and it got worn out, got holes in it and all that sort of stuff. And I did manage to wear it on my last cruise that I did in 2018 in December. And then when I was going to go on the Princess Cruise about 4 or 5 weeks ago, as I remember, I don't have my cruise day shirt, because on my cruise day, I wear my tie-dye shirt that has this on it. It's got a blank yellow circle on the back. And you can actually get the back circle personalized, which I didn't know at the time. I found out afterwards. And I thought, oh, maybe I could put something on the back of the shirt, like Before the Dirt Nap with the little check mark, my little logo, inside that yellow circle, and do it with the gold or something. That one might have to be white. I don't know. But yeah, so this is my tie-dye shirt with this big smiley face on the front. And I don't know if you can see this. My hair's probably going to, there's a big yellow. I can't turn around because I'm in a dining booth. And so I was struggling to figure out what to talk about tonight. And and I was chatting with Kathy at the time, and she says, well, talk about the house hunt. And I said, well, we can't really talk about the house hunt because we're not doing the house hunt right now, because we're still waiting for the approval to come through. So that's where we are with that. She said, well, talk about life. What's it like? What are you going to miss about RV, about living in an RV? And I thought, that's a really good question. What am I going to miss? So here we are talking about RV living. I've been doing it for the last 4 years. I am in a 2006 Fleetwood Bounder, and it's a 32W, which means it's 32 feet. The W is the type of trim that's on it. And it's also a 20th anniversary edition. The sticker's on the outside by the door. So it's a 2006. So it's getting on there in years. It's been a great ride. When I got it, it had like 24,000 miles on it, I think, or 22,000 miles. I do have it all written down and tracked and everything else. And every time I got in the RV to drive anywhere, I would take a picture of the odometer. And so it date stamped when I actually left it, was leaving the campground to go to the next one and that sort of stuff. Having Zeffie along with me has been awesome. She's a great co-pilot. She will actually sit there in the front seat and whine because we're doing less than 10 miles an hour. I've discovered my dog she likes to go fast. She likes to stick her head out the window, but she can't get her head all the way out the window because, well, she can't even get her head out of the window on the RV. In the car, she has a screen a screen stocking that goes over both sides of the window, so that it stops the bugs and everything flying in and provides sunshade for her. But in the RV, she sits in the passenger seat and just kind of like leans back as we're driving out, and she's going, as we drive through the parking, and like not really paying any attention to what's going through. She's just like kicked back and relaxed. Once we hit the road, though, she then like stays there for a few bits, stops the whining because we're going a little faster now. We've hit 30. We're good. When we hit 30, she's good. She's happy. See, we're going fast in her book. And she'll stay out there for probably about half an hour or so as we're driving out and through the town or something. And especially if I'm going to a Walmart and the reason I go to a Walmart before we leave is I go to the super Walmarts because they have the grocery stores and they have the really big parking lots, which means I can park at the back of the area, and I can orientate the RV whichever way I need it to. So the sun's on the back of it and not on the front of it where Zeffie is. And she'll just chillax there and it's always cooler in the mornings when we're out traveling, and I'll go get the groceries and come back. And knowing that she's in the RV, I make it a very quick trip. So I don't leisurely walk around Walmart like I have been known to do and end up with way more stuff than I actually need. I'm in, I'm out, we're done. Then we put all the groceries away, and then we get back everybody gets buckled in again, and off we go, and we drive to the next one. The cool thing I like about driving the RV is, and it's a Class A, so we're up high. And I have to say, this is easier than driving my late husband's Yukon when he had a Yukon. So all of those Yukon drivers out there are probably going to go, oh no, the Yukon's way better. Yeah, you ain't. If you haven't driven an RV and driven a Yukon like I have, mind you, the Yukon I was driving was like 14, 15 years old. You get up and you get on the front seat of this, In fact, this is like 2 years older than Brad. This vehicle is 2 years older than what Brad's Yukon was. His was a 2004. This is a 2006. You get there, you've got this beautiful, comfortable driving seat. It's like an armchair. It's really cool. And you can orientate it. You can move it forward, back, up, down, and adjust the back and everything. So it's just perfect and it fits you perfectly. And you can sit with your arms on the armrests like you're in an armchair just driving. And this one does require a little more steering than some of the later models that came out that had the steering assist and all that sort of stuff. So when we get buffeted by wind, yes, we get buffeted by wind, and we do the swaying thing when the wind comes along. And there are later models of RVs that came out, more of the luxury ones, that have these steering stabilizer, whatchamacallits, in there. But we get out on the freeway there and we turtle off to our next destination. And just about every time we see a rest area, we pull in the truckers area, and we get out. Walk Zeffie around. We'll do like a protein shake or a meal, and have a good walk and stretch our legs and stuff. And sometimes we've even sort of like, I'm tired. I'm going to go take a nap. And we've gone and laid on the bed in the bedroom there, and we've napped for a little bit. Just a little cat nap for like 30, 40 minutes, and then get up and stretch, have some water, make sure we stay hydrated, make sure our water bottle's full up the front there, check on everything, take Zeffie up for one more quick walk, and then we're back into the RV, buckled up, and off we go again. When we're on the freeway, because of the age of this vehicle, I have pushed it to 70 in some places where I've been passing trucks, but I don't really like going up that far. I don't feel very safe driving it at that distance. So I keep my speedometer around 63. I put cruise control on 63. I don't care if it's an 80-mile-an-hour speed limit that's posted. I'm staying in the right-hand lane. I'm doing 63. And for me, that works. And there's a really cool app called Road Tripper, Trip Wizard, something like that. And when you can go in there and you can put in there the size of your vehicle, how long is it, how high is it, how wide is it, what does it weigh. You can put all that information in there, and it makes sure that, and then you put in your destination, and you can actually track your destination out however many campgrounds in advance you've booked, and put in there, I want to go to campgrounds within this radius of where I am right now, and it will show you all the campgrounds within. And now I only want to see the ones that have this discount, belong to this club, where I get discounts for this club, this club, this club, this club. So yeah, you can narrow down the fix. And if you don't find anything, then you can open it up a little more and see what else is out there. And we've stopped in some that ended up, not a place that we would have any of our discounts at, but ended up being a great little place to stop for, a couple of nights. I did learn on my very first trip is that you really do have to know your drive times. And when I did the 227 miles with, it was 3,227 miles with my parents in 27 days, I learned very, very quickly that driving every day, not good. So now when I drive, if I'm driving a distance that requires an overnight stay because of either the hours that I'm driving or the length I'm driving, then I am stopping for 2 nights. So I've got a day of rest in between. It means I can also sit and do some work too if I need to, but I basically have a day that I can rest my body and my mind, and then we get back in the seat and we're refreshed on the second day. We get back in the seat and off we go again. But living in an RV has been really cool, because if you didn't like the campground, we'd just pack up and move to another one. We'd find another one to go hang out up for a couple of days or something like that if we didn't like the one that we were in. You don't have a lot of storage space. So learning to, in an RV, there is storage, but there's not a lot of it like you have in a house. In this RV, there's probably around 250 square feet. Again, it's a very small space. If you think of a room that you've got in your house that's 10 by 10, that's 100 square feet. So double that, put 2 of those rooms together and half of a third one, and that's about the size that we've got. So you do have to learn to downsize drastically, either put everything in storage and go and do your tootling around. And now I had a storage in California, which is now in Arizona, that has all my house stuff in it that I didn't get sold at the time when we moved. And then I had a smaller storage which was my living storage. And that was basically when I got back to California, I would go to the storage. I would switch out clothes. I would switch out maybe some of the tools that I had based on where we were going to be going, what time of year it was, what was the season, that sort of stuff. Because there's certain times of year you need certain stuff, especially if you're traveling. And like when we went across the I-10 in February of 2020, we needed a lot of winter stuff because it was cold going across there. We're staying in campgrounds that had freeze warnings out there, and they're saying it like, unless you've got a heated hose, put your hose away. Make sure the tap on your site is on drip mode. And then they're giving us instructions like that. And I had fortunately filled up my clean water tank, which holds 85 gallons. I'd filled that up at the previous campgrounds. When we got to this one and heard that I had a freeze warning out, I was like, fine with me. The hose just doesn't get connected. So we made sure that was full. But before we left, we did top off the tank so it was full. Sometimes having that extra weight in the tanks helps when you're going through areas where there's a bit of wind, because it makes you heavier to move. And the slower you go, the heavier you are with the wind. The faster you go, the lighter you are with the wind. And you get buffeted around more the faster you go. So, but downsizing, and the other thing was making sure that you didn't carry anything that broke. So if you were like using China plate, there are ways that you could pack China plates for traveling. I was just sort of like, screw that. I'm not fussing around with bits and pieces and all of that sort of stuff. I just want to pack up in the morning, get on the road and go. And I did have some little rubber mat things that I would stick between the different sizes of plates, but not in between every plate. So I have my big plate, then I have my slightly smaller plate, and then I have my cereal bowls. And so between each layer, there's a little rubber mat that goes in there just to help stop them all moving around, which helps. And everything else is kind of packed in tight so it doesn't move anyway. Have I had any doors fly open during travel? Yes. But I have to tell you, when I first got the RV, I thought, oh, I don't have any. I had some supplies with me, but not a lot. And I didn't have a soap dispenser for the bathroom. And I happened to be in CVS for some stuff. And so I got a CVS soap thing of hand soap and threw it in the bathroom. I will tell you this. Now, when my parents were here, my mum would help pack up the inside while Dad and I went and cleaned up packed up the outside. She would always put that soap dispenser in the sink. Once they left and I was moving around, one day I forgot to put it in the sink, and I had it sitting in the corner of the bathroom. And when we'd been on a bit of a rough road, and I thought, and went in the bathroom, that thing's standing in place. It hadn't moved. And it's been there ever since. The only time it gets moved is when I have to fill it or clean. And those are the only two times that dispenser gets. And we went on one road. There was one road that we went on that was full of potholes and ridges. It was an unpaved road, but we had to go on it to get to where we were going. And I did have a couple of cupboard doors fly open. Now I have the ones over the kitchen sink. I've got a ribbon that I tie around them to hold the doors together, because that's where I have all my mugs, my pantry. So yeah, there is some breakables in there with the pantry stuff. So I have all of that, and I have the non-skid mats down there too. And I had some of these overhead cabinets here fly open, but fortunately with these overhead cabinets, I have baskets up there that hold everything in place. So nothing came flying out. Even some of my drawers, which are all latched, opened up on this road. It was really, really bumpy. It was horrendous. And they normally say, when it's bumpy, go a little faster so that you smooth across the bumps. Yeah, no, that wasn't going to work. And this one had a lot of ruts, a lot of potholes. And you're sitting there going, and you're trying to keep the RV straight on the road. And sorry, everything in the RV is sort of like swaying now. We got to our destination, and I went into the bathroom. That soap dispenser was still sitting in place. I'd had cupboard doors open. I had drawers open. I'd had nothing fall out, but I had things and I had to be careful opening the cabinets because things move in drive. But that soap dispenser was sitting in place. I was just like, wow, that's impressive. It was amazing because that road was, and then of course we had to go back up that road. So I then after we got off that road, I then had to find somewhere to park so I could go and close all the cupboard doors and shut all the drawers that had opened up again. And I went and checked on the soap dispenser, still sitting there. But what I have enjoyed is exploring the country. One thing I didn't enjoy though is that I didn't have anybody to share driving with me. Because there's a lot of time. I mean, the scenery is incredible. When you're on the road and you're exploring, there's incredible scenery. You get to go through some towns with some fun names. Like I went through either Curtains or Drapery. I think it was Drapery in Oregon. There was Weeds in California. And no, not that type of weed. It was actually named after a guy named Weed who actually built the largest, at the time, lumber mill there in that place. And he wanted to call it something else. And the post office says, nope, we're going to call it Weeds. So that's how they got named. And I would take note of these things and either have mum or dad write them down so that I could remember them later and go and look up the story as to why that place was named that. And usually it was after somebody. And then there's one road that as you're driving along the 10, either towards California or from California, I used to know the exit number. It's in Arizona. It's called Sticky Finger Road. And I'm like, I would love to know how that road got named. But you see interesting names as you're driving along. And of course, I can't take any pictures because I'm driving. But there's interesting things. And I suddenly thought, well, maybe I need to get a dash cam for when we're driving. So at least I could take the photographs off the dash cam. So that might be a possibility. Although now we're selling, but we've got one we'll get it for the car and we can use it in either place. I like the compactness of it and the fact that we had to downsize. Although since we've been sitting in this thing for almost 2 years, there's a lot of clutter. So I'm now decluttering everything, stripping everything out of the RV, getting it ready for sale. But I have enjoyed it. I mean, the bedroom's comfortable. The only thing is that if it's hot outside, it's even hotter inside. And you can do all sorts of things. Like we've got screens on the outside of the window, solar UV screens on the outside of the windows, because if the windows heat up, that's that radiates the heat into the RV. So yes, you can have all that reflectric stuff on there as well. It will help to some degree, but not a lot. And then the ACs in these things are only designed to keep you cooler than around 20 degrees cooler than what the outside is. So if it's 120, it's about 100 inside the RV. But once I put the solar screens on, we actually got to be at least 30 degrees cooler than what it was outside. Some days a little more. And also depends which way you're facing as well. We face south, so the sun is always coming in through the main window. So it's trying to find out, okay, how can I insulate the main window and the windscreen to stop that heat radiating in? If it gets on the sides, I've got that worked out. But if I've got the awning on the west side, providing the wind's not blowing. But it's kind of cool because, like I said, if you're in one place and you decide you want to stay longer, you can. If they've got availability, you just stay longer. And you've got your house on wheels. So when you go to a rest area, and there's times I've been to really busy rest areas and I've seen the lines coming out of the restrooms. I'm just sort of like, I am so glad I am in an RV because I've got my own bathroom. I've got my own kitchen set up here. When we're traveling with mum and dad, there was one day that mum wanted to heat something up and we couldn't use the microwave. I don't use microwaves anyway. It's a pantry for me. So dad whipped out, turned on the gas, and we turned one of the burners on and pulled out a pot. And before we left, we had everything washed, clean, put away, and dad went back outside and turned off the gas. But it's really cool that way. You don't get in some RVs, you can get residential refrigerators. I don't have one in here. So the refrigerator and the freezers always bug me because it's so small. But it's done its purpose. And I'm looking forward to getting a real refrigerator, a big size refrigerator in whatever house I get. So yeah, there's things that I have missed from that I have in a house compared to what I have in the RV. But basically you have everything. You've got a kitchen area, you've got a living room area, you've got a bedroom, you've got a bathroom, you've got a shower, you've got a freshwater tank, a black tank, which is the toilet stuff. You've got the gray tank, which comes from the sinks, hand basins, and showers. And wherever you are, you can dump, and you always dump the gray tank last. So black tank first, then the gray tank. And if you've ever seen the movie RV with Robin Williams in it, my parents and I sat in this RV one night watching it. We had tears coming down our faces because we knew what was going to, as soon as, he started doing something in the RV, we knew exactly what was going to happen. There's been times where we've been at a campground where we didn't have a full hookup. And a full hookup means that you've got the sewer hookup, the water hookup, and the power hookup. And in some campgrounds, we didn't have 50 amps, which is what we need for this vehicle, but we had 30 amps. And 30 amps, there's a little meter thing in the other room there, and you have to watch. If I turn this on, do I have enough amperage left to run this? And in that, we found we could only run one AC unit at a time. We could actually run 2 on it as long as nothing else was on. But if the refrigerator kicked in, that blew it, and we had to reset everything. So there's lots of little things. And like when you park, in some campgrounds, they will escort you to your site and help you park. Other ones, you've got to back in by yourself, or if you've got somebody with you, they can go and help direct you in. Other ones, you get like a pull through, which is where you come in from the back of the site up to the front of the site. I like those ones. Although my backing skills are really good in the RV, especially when I showed my dad, when I picked up my mum and dad from the airport and we got back to the campground. I says, well, there's Sparkles down there as we're up here on the road. Sparkles is down here in this little, it was actually, I think they called it like the amphitheater. So it was in this little round thing at the bottom. And I stopped at the top of the road to go down. I says, right, we are going to go down nose first in the car. I said, I parked the RV over here with its back facing this driveway. And my dad's like, okay. And I said, and then I had to reverse the RV down the hill we're about to go head first down. And as we're going down the hill, I then had to start turning. And I had somebody behind me and somebody next to me because the campground would not let me do it by myself, which I am very thankful for, because I don't know where I would have ended up parking. And you had to go down the steep driveway. And then when you get towards the bottom, you had to start turning. And they had me stop at one point because my mirror was about to whack an umbrella. So he just moved the little pointy piece on the umbrella, just moved it a little bit and says, okay, we're ready to go again. And they had me back down, start turning, and I had to park between 2 trees. And we did it all in one go, except for that one stop to turn the umbrella. But there was no having to put it in forward, go forward to get the alignment right. Down the hill around and in between 2 trees. And I said, so remember this, as we go down, I had to do this in reverse in the RV. And they hadn't even seen the RV except for the roof over the top of the thing. And so we went down the hill and I parked where I was supposed to park and all of that. And my dad gets out and he's like looking at the side of the RV and stuff and looking at the hill and he goes, you did good. Yes. All those hours my dad, when he was teaching me to drive, he spent more time teaching me to drive in reverse than he did in forward. So I am very thankful to my dad for that. But yes, you do need to learn how to reverse. I have spent many hours of entertainment in campgrounds where they only have back-in sites, watching people with fifth wheels. The fifth wheels seem to get the most. I mean, I've watched people with RVs. I've watched them with the Class A's, the Class B's, which are just your converted vans. The Class C, which is one that has the bed area over the cab. I've watched them with the trailer campers, which in New Zealand we call caravans for my Kiwi friends and family. And then you have the fifth wheels. The fifth wheels provide the most entertainment of watching somebody getting onto a campsite, especially when it's very narrow. I have seen it done in as quick as 20 minutes. Yes, as quick as 20 minutes. You heard that correctly. The quickest was 20 minutes. The longest was an hour and a half. And this poor guy, I mean, I have no idea how to back those things. So I was absolutely no help at all. But it was directly across the road from me. And his wife is standing there with an infant in her arms for an hour and a half. While then some of the other campers saw he was having problems, so they came out and they had one in each back corner of the thing, one at each front corner, and the guy on the driver's side was giving him instructions from the other guys. and they got this, there's 4 strangers just came together and they got this whole signaling thing worked out as to how to get this guy in, and it still took an hour and a half for this poor young guy to get this fifth wheel parked and straightened and everything, parked in the right position and everything else. And the whole time his wife is standing there with an infant in her arms. Unfortunately, I was on a Zoom call at the time. While this is all going on in front of me, because I'm sitting here and I can see everything out the front window, and Zeffy's like up there just watching everything. And I was on a Zoom meeting and stuff, so I couldn't leave. Had I not been in a Zoom meeting, I would have gone over and said to the wife, "Look, do you want to come and sit inside? Have somewhere to sit on my patio or something like that with the baby, so that you can," because she was having to stand there all that time. But because I was on a business call and all of that at the time, I couldn't go out and get her. And actually, I don't think I had my outdoor seats at that time. But yeah. So you do learn to live small. So if you are in a tiny house, you will love RVing because it's around the same size. You get tiny houses that are smaller than RVs, as far as floor space, as far as space goes. But you really do downsize. And you just take the essentials and you learn to live with the essentials. And, you can't take every modern convenience with you. I bought my Vitamix blender with me. I've got my Instapot with me, and that does slow cooking and eggs and all that sort of thing in it. I did purchase an air fryer while living in the RV, and that has been awesome. And a George Foreman grill, because I don't know how to use the outdoor grills. So I got my George Foreman grill. Those are the only appliance. Oh, and my kettle, my hot water thing, because I don't do coffee. I do tea. And those are my appliances in my kitchen. That's it. Because you don't have a lot of space. And I fortunately have not had to move since I got the air fryer. I do have the box for it. It's in storage. And there are stuff that I do have boxes for that I can pack up. Like I've got the box for this computer in storage. So when it comes to moving, I can go get that box out, pack the computer in there, and I know everything's going to be okay with it and all of that sort of stuff. And it means I don't have to worry about wrapping it and packing it and all that. I just put it in its box and I know it's good to go. Same with the air fryer. Yeah, RV life is great. You can even go boondocking, which is going off grid. And if you have a generator or you have solar power, make sure your tanks are full before you leave. You can go and park just about anywhere that they allow you to park. There are people who will boondock in parking lots for restaurants or Walmarts and things. There's actually an app that you can get on the phone that's called boondocking, and it tells you where you go, and it tells you the instructions of if you need permission to stay there, who you've got to go and see in the store or the restaurant or whatever to get permission to stay in their parking lot overnight. But when you're parked, you cannot look like you are overnighting. You can't put your feet down, which are your jacks, your leveling jacks. You can't put those down. You can't put the slides out. And when I purchased this RV, that was one of my my non-negotiables was the bed had to be set up all the time. In other words, if I pulled into a rest area, I could go and lay on my bed with no problems. If I had to fold, make the bed and fold it all up and all that to get the slides in, not happening. And they tried to, and I said to them, this is a non-negotiable. And they're like, oh, what non-negotiable? I said, the bed has to be set up at all times. Now this one, the bottom 6 inches of the bed go underneath the closet and up against the drawers, which is totally fine with me because I'm only 5'4", and it's the bed, and it's a queen size bed, so it's 80 inches long. So I can definitely fit on there without having to worry about my feet being tucked up around my neck or something like that. So, or I can just go lay across the bed too. I've done that as well. So that was one of my and if they try to show me, I said, well, hang on, does the bed fold up? And yep, nope, we're out of here. I said, I don't care how good the layout is. It's not happening. If the bed cannot be accessible at all times with the slides closed, then it's not. I'm not interested in it. So stop showing me those ones. Oh, I just got to. I don't care about the layout. I said that is my non-negotiable. So it's kind of cool. What else can you talk about living in an RV? You get to go all sorts of places. Like if you want to go boondocking, you can. You can park just about. I mean, there's places you can go park, places where it says no camping, so don't camp there. There are some rest areas where they have where they have a specific area in the rest area that you can actually stay overnight in some rest areas, and it's all patrolled and secured and lots of lighting and that sort of stuff as well. It's designed for the truckers. There was one. Says we're going into Alabama or Arkansas. Might have been Alabama. Went to the visitors center, and they had like I parked in the truck area. We did our thing, went out for a walk and all of that. We got back in the RV, and we went to leave. And as we went from the truck area, we went around the back to go back out. They had all these RV set up things there, where it had you could it was just a pull. It was a pull through. So you pull in on this side here against the curb, and there's an island here. And we noticed that there was some fifth wheels sitting there. There was no pickups underneath them because they had parked the fifth wheel there and gone off to do whatever they were going to do. And then they were going to come back and pick up the fifth wheel. So if you've got a fifth wheel, there's places you can do that. And there's ways that you can lock the hitch so it can't be towed away on the back of somebody else's. Somebody can't put their pickup in there. And there's a way that you can lock the hitch piece. But I thought that was, and I thought, damn it, I didn't know about that. We would have come over here and not had to sit amongst the trucks and everything else. And it was a little bit of shade there as well. And but I thought, oh well, I'll have to remember that one for next time. But the problem is I can't remember which entry it was. And we were going on the 10. I think it was Alabama. Pretty sure it was. No, Alabama's where we had the state troopers that were inspecting every single truck. They had this big sign, and of course I had to go to the bathroom, so I was sort of like, okay, we've got to find somewhere to park. And I just went into the rest area like I normally went over the truck area and there's cops everywhere. And all these 18-wheelers and other size trucks all pulled over into different areas. And I get up there to the guy at the front there, and he said, you need to use the facilities. I says, well, I have my own facilities on board. I just need somewhere to park so I can use the facilities on board here and walk my dog. And he's like, oh, just parking that one over there. And I couldn't find a pet area. Everywhere it said no pets, no pets, no pets, no pets. So I finally found this grass area for Zephyr to go. And there was a whole bunch of ants and stuff there. So we weren't very happy with that one. But then as we left and went down to go around the other side to get out, there's this big pet area down the far end there. I thought I told him I had to walk my dog. Obviously he didn't know where the pet area was, but but there are some rest areas where you can stay overnight. If you can't, there's signpostage saying no overnight camping. But you can have a lot of fun in an RV. And there's all sorts of different RVs, those that can do off-roading as well. Yeah, I know, sweetie girl, come here. There's RVs that you can go off-roading in. Not to the point of like the all-wheel drive off-road buggy things, but to the point that if you're going off-road, off the asphalt and onto the rough roads and stuff, the thing will be able to handle it. We had one parked here last year. It was awesome. It had it looked like a Unimog. If you've ever seen a Unimog, the Army has Unimogs, and they've got the big fat tires up high, and and it's all camped down, and you can get into the cab of the truck from the camper area. But when they park, they press a button and the outside shell goes up, and it makes almost like a 2-story thing, but it's just increasing the height of the thing. And they have loft beds that are over top of the cabins and that sort of stuff. Is where the main bedroom was in that one. But they did have bench seats that you could stretch out on, so you could still go somewhere to have a snooze. But these things were tripped out like nobody's business. It was awesome. But yeah, what's it been like living in an RV for the last 4 years? It's been awesome. It really has. There's days that every house that you live in, everything, whatever you live in, there's going to be times it's like, oh, I wish that. Yeah, I've had those moments. But now it's just got to the point where like, I'm done living in an RV for now. I need more space for work. I need somewhere for Zephyr to run around in a backyard. And so it's just time to move forward to the next thing, and just see what happens, and say goodbye to Sparkles, because I'm not going to put her in storage, because how often, and it's just like somebody said, well, what if you want to go on the road again? I said, I'll find an RV and rent what we need for however long we need, and we'll go tootling off in that. And it's like, oh, I said, yeah. I said, what's the point of having an RV that's just sitting in a yard for months? And if you want to take it out, you've then got to do all of this stuff to get it all ready to go on the road and everything else. Because there is a way that you winterize the vehicles for storage, like making sure your tank's empty, cleaning out the tanks, disconnecting the batteries. What else is there? Just basically cleaning everything else and cleaning out the refrigerator and freezer and propping the doors open there. What else have I had to do? Cleaning the tanks, emptying the tanks, turning the batteries off. And when you turn the batteries off, your stairs don't work. I found that one out the hard way. Yeah, and you just take it to a storage place and park it there, and then the last thing you do before you get out is that you disconnect the batteries. And that's not just the engine battery you disconnect, you also disconnect the house batteries. So you have 2 lots of batteries, and you have to check the batteries because they're the old-fashioned ones that you got to flip the tops open and check the water levels on and fill it with distilled water only. It's lots of little things that you know. And I have learned that if you are in like a Class A or a Class C or a Class B where you've got the engines, and you're in one place for any length of time, you have to at least once a month, turn the engine on for about 30 minutes and just let it run. I did not know that. My battery was fine until I got my air conditioning replaced, and my air conditioning did not come with a solar panel. And what's important about a solar panel on the front air conditioner is that it plugs into the little air conditioner, the little solar panel thingy, and that trickles power down into your battery. So, you end up, so sometimes you can end up with a flat battery, which I have right now. So we're going to get that charged up. And but the other reason that you do it once a month is just to keep all the fluids and everything running through it as well. So it's good engine maintenance, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've covered a lot of miles. We've done 12,000 miles, just over 12,000 miles in this vehicle since I purchased it. Zeffie's done about 6,000 or 7,000 miles with me in that. We've driven from one side of the country to the other and back again. We've driven up into Canada. So we've done from California up to Vancouver, British Columbia, and back down again. So we've had a lot of fun, a lot of adventures in here. And I do have a handheld CB radio. And when we were stuck in traffic, I would turn it on and bounce off the trucks that were around me to see if I could hear what was going on. And you had some colorful language. We're stuck in this one place and we finally got past. And you know how you got the joins across on the bridge? In those joins, there's actually bits of metal. And what had happened is one of those had gone up across the road so nobody could drive over it or around it or anything else. So they had to get some engineers to come out and move that particular piece of metal out of the way, like peel it back out of the thing because they couldn't get it back down into the join again. They needed actually a new piece because this one had sprung. And they had to pull that out of the way so the traffic could start going. And we were stuck like that for like about 30 to 40 minutes. And this one particular truck driver had very colorful opinions about the delay. He couldn't find out what the delay was, couldn't see what. And when we went past what the actual delay was, it was a whole nother world of colorful stories and, yes, expressions. But anyway, it's time for me to go. You guys go have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konara.